and welcome to the Culture Swally, a podcast dedicated to Scottish news and pop culture. My name is Nicky, and I'm joined as always by the man who often needs a stroke adjuster when he's thinking about a harmless bit of tit. It's Greg. How are you today, buddy? I combined two things there. I combined two things from what we're going to be talking about later to get your intro. How's things?
Yes, good. Very good. Yes, very good. I'm preparing to travel for the first time in my life to Hong Kong my flight leaves at 3 a.m. on Sunday morning. Which is a bit of a kick in the bollocks. But I'm quite excited to go because I've never been. But the problem I'm having is, sometimes you get something stuck in your head, and it's related to something that you're about to do. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So if you cast your mind back to the early 90s when Street Fighter 2 first came to the arcades, if you were going to fight Chun-Li, the arcade cabinet or Super Nintendo, whatever you're playing it on, would say, Hong Kong! So in my mind, when I'm thinking about going to Hong Kong, it just keeps popping up in my head, Hong Kong! And at first I couldn't remember off the top of my head which Street Fighter 2 character, because you fly all over the world. Thailand, USA. I couldn't remember which character it was. It was in my mind so much today that I had to ask Google which character it was. And literally, I don't have anybody around me that I can talk about that to. So I've been looking forward to the podcast just so I can get it off my chest, because I don't have, literally nobody sort of spends most of their daydreaming time in the night. Well, I assume that nobody that I see every day spends most of their sort of daydreaming time in the 1980s, 90s or early 2000s like I do. I probably wouldn't have a fucking clue what I was talking about. If my old flatmate Dale was somebody I saw every day, he would get it immediately. But
I get it, and it's very relevant because, of course, they're filming the new Street Fighter movie at the moment.
Oh, yeah, I believe they are. Yeah, that is it. Live action.
Yes, it is. It's Cody Rhodes, who you'll know from WWE.
It's playing Gale.
He is indeed. Yeah,
shocking.
There's a couple of weird ones. I think Roman Reigns from WWE as well. He's playing. I'm not familiar with the character Akuma.
Yeah, I think he's from the later games. He's not a core. He's not a core character from the original. I think there was 6 playable characters, and then there was the 3 bosses, and then the various other versions that allowed you to play as one of the 3 bosses.
The only other ones I really know is Jason Momoa is playing Blanca. And Balrog, who was obviously Mike Tyson kind of...
inspired. Yeah.
Yes, he's played by 50 Cent, which will...
I mean, it doesn't sound like it's going to be very good, this Street Fighter film.
It doesn't, does it?
I think I prefer the mid-90s cocaine-fueled Van Damme vehicle, where Van Damme played Guile and Kylie Minogue played the Scottish... There's a Scottish character in the later Street Fighter games called Cammy, who's like a sort of lady soldier with big hips and a red beret. Kylie Minogue played her, and celebrated dramatic actor Raul Julia. He plays Bison, and it's his last film role, which is a fucking kick in the nuts for Raul Julia, to be honest, because he was a great actor. But I think I would rather watch that again than watch Roman Reigns and Cody Rhodes, who, as far as I know, is unproven as a dramatic actor.
He is. I think I'll probably give that a miss. I remember going to the cinema to see the original Street Fighter film.
I did as well, yeah.
I remember being disgusted. I can't remember the name of the guy I went with. It was a friend from school. Charn, I think his name was. And I remember when Raul Julia appeared on screen as M. Bison, him going, "Ha, you're deed." And...
As only a child in the northeast of Scotland in the mid-90s could.
I've been wholly inappropriate. I've been disgusted at him for that. Shocking behaviour. Yeah, oh well. So, yeah, you're off to Hong Kong.
Hong
That'd
Kong,
be lovely.
yeah,
It'd be nice.
yeah.
Hong Kong. That'd be nice. That'd be a good trip, though. That'd be very nice.
Yes, my hosts have scheduled in a cable car ride to see the Big Buddha statue. So I'm not mad keen on cable cars because I'm not mad keen on heights.
Yeah.
You know, but look, you know, I might never get to go again. So all experiences should be, well, within reason, should be experienced, right? So
Yeah. You might never get to go again if you go on that cable car, though, and something happens.
well, that's it, yeah.
I'm sorry, mate. I'm really joking. Everything will be fine.
Yes, I know. It'll be fine. Chinese efficiency. It'll be fine.
Exactly. It'll be all good. Oh, wonderful. Look forward to hearing reports of that when you're back. Lovely.
Yes, indeed.
Right then, shall we have a look at what's been happening in Scotland over the last couple of weeks?
Cue the jingle.
Hello, this is the Outer Hebrides Broadcasting Corporation, and here is what's been going on in the news.
Okay, Greg, what have you seen in Scotland over the last couple of weeks you'd like to share with me and our lovely listeners?
So my first story comes from the Daily Record. Now, our listeners who are engaged in current affairs, particularly in the UK, will know that the pressure group Palestine Action has been deemed a terrorist organisation for some reason by the British government. So this story, the headline reads, "No arrests at Glasgow protest after man detained over a Plasticine Action top." There's a clip on social media that shows the man with two police officers at the Salt Market in Glasgow Saturday, a couple of weeks ago. The male can be seen wearing a white t-shirt with the words "Plasticine Action, we oppose AI-generated animation" printed on it, along with a picture of classic animated character Morph. Morph, for any listeners who aren't the same age as us and didn't grow up in the UK, is one of the first characters ever created by the animation studio responsible for things like Wallace and Gromit, and used to be on Tony Hart's Heartbeat art programme. So the top is based on the signs and t-shirts seen at protests in support of Palestine Action, which was prescribed by the UK government under the Terrorism Act 2000 in July. So belonging to or expressing support for Palestine Action are both criminal offences under the Act and can carry a maximum sentence of 14 years in prison. The incident followed a Stop the War Coalition's national... I keep having to stop myself from saying Plasticine. Palestine rally in Glasgow, which is attended by hundreds of people. So yeah, it goes on to describe some fairly depressing facts about what happened at the demonstration. But yeah, Plasticine Action really, really made me laugh. I can't tell you how much.
That's brilliant. So yeah, stopped and detained for his Plasticine t-shirt. That is, that's insane. I mean, surely the cop would stop him and then read it and be like, "Oh, sorry, mate, it just looked a little bit like," but honestly, that's ridiculous.
Yeah, but that t-shirt, he's gone to the rally wearing that t-shirt with one intention, and that is arch, solid gold, cast in gold, and put in a museum for all time shithousery. And I have got nothing but admiration and respect for that man.
The clip resurfaced for obvious reasons a few weeks ago, but did you ever see that clip that was going around Instagram of the guy getting stopped going on the train because the police are like, "No fancy dress allowed"? Because he's wearing like a yellow vest, a red bandana, and he's got a blonde handlebar moustache and blonde hair sticking out. And his mate he's in like his 50s, this guy, and his mate is creasing up laughing. And he goes, "He's fucking always dresses like that. I think you're fancy dressing like Hulk Hogan." he's just out for a day out. His dress is like that. Cops aren't letting him on the train because they think he's in fancy dress. If I find it again, I'll send it to you. It's fucking brilliant.
Do.
But yeah, you're right. He has probably gone there with the intention of, this'll ruffle a few feathers. This'll get the cat amongst the pigeons. This'll get the...
He stood, I mean, they've pixelated out his face, but he stood so nonchalantly in the picture with like one hand on his hip. He might even have like a fag between his fingers just out of shot. You know what I mean? A pair of sunglasses on, complete as cool as a cucumber, just not bothered. But it just got me thinking, like I can't ever imagine that happening in England. I just can't. And I'm not saying anything. I'm not saying English people don't have a sense of humour or anything like that. But you know, there was another example of this at the Oasis concerts in Murrayfield when the bands were belting out Little by Little. And some guys were holding up a Lidl shopping bag, singing Little by Little. And I just can't imagine, like the Gallagher brothers looking out over the crowd at Wembley Stadium or Heaton Park or the Cardiff Stadium or any of the other venues that they played in the UK and seeing people just having fun like that. Because I kind of feel like they would enjoy it, the Gallaghers. You know what I mean? I think they would. I think, especially Noel Gallagher, I think he'd probably find that quite funny. But I just can't imagine it. But I need to get myself a Plasticine Action t-shirt. I think get one printed up with a picture of Morph on it.
Was Morph your favourite Plasticine character?
I did. I mean, I only watched when I was a kid. I only watched Heartbeat for Morph. You know,
me too.
Nothing against Tony Hart, you know. And as I got a bit older, I came to appreciate his artistic skill and his charisma on screen. But when I was a kid, it was just for Morph. Yeah, loved it.
Yeah, I'd be the same. Yeah, it was Morph. I liked Morph. But couldn't be arsed with the rest of Heartbeat. I would say, I don't know, probably Trapdoor was probably my favourite.
Yeah, all those shows. Stop motion I always really liked. And I think probably there was Charlton and the Wheelies as well I liked as well. Yeah. That was stop motion. And Trapdoor I really liked. I mean, that was a wee bit later. But I remember my daughter and I just a few years ago sitting through... Because my youngest daughter's quite interested in animation. Well, she was more interested in animation back then. She's not as interested now. But her and I, a few years ago, sat and burned through about 4 episodes of Trapdoor on YouTube around 3 years ago. And it's still cool because there's so much going on the screen. So many things, like all the wee jars behind Bert and all that are animated as well. So there's things wriggling about and all that kind of stuff. It's like, it must have taken that's all been done by hand and photographed. It must have taken fucking hours and hours to do it. Yeah.
And now people are just taking the piss by wearing t-shirts.
I know, and now all that's done in AI. But I like, what is the animation house called again that did Wallace and Gromit? Because they do everything now. They do it the old way when they make films.
Aardman Animation.
Aardman. Because they did try a computer-generated effort with Hugh Jackman was in it, Flushed Away, where he plays a sort of, like a mouse or a rat that's a secret agent. And it didn't do as well. So the last one they did was, the last one I remember seeing anyway, was Pirates and an Adventure with Scientists. And it's really good and really, really funny. Like Hugh Grant, Hugh Grant is brilliant when he's doing like a character and not just doing Hugh Grant. Like in The Gentleman, he's good in that as well, right? Like that last Paddington Bear movie, I watched that with the girls and plays a baddie in that, and he's really good. You know what I mean? But he's really, really good. And it's got an all-star cast, you know, that Scientists, that Pirates film, like Martin Freeman's in it, and Helena Bonham Carter, and like all-star cast.
I was it? Is David Tennant in that?
David Tennant's in it. He plays Darwin, the scientist Darwin. Like it's all about evolution and all that. And it's like Queen Victoria just wants to eat. She's the villain. She wants to eat all these animals that are approaching extinction. So she's determined to eat this dodo. It's just, I mean, it's ridiculous sort of British kind of humour. But I know that, because I watched a documentary about Aardman, that came out around about the time that they were making that film, and that's all done It's all like hand animated, the Pirates film, which I thought was awesome. Anyway.
That's incredible. Wow.
Indeed. Anyway, that's my first story this week. Plasticine action. What's your first story for this episode?
My first story comes from Glasgow Live this week, Greg. And there is a big trend in terms of food blogging and TikTokers and things, but one's come under fire in Scotland for their antics recently. So a Glasgow food blogger who triggered outrage online after posting an insensitive TikTok rating of a meal at a homeless shelter has been slammed by a charity. It's ridiculous. Tracy Cahill makes videos on the social media site to her 45,000 followers, Greg, reviewing food across the city using the slogans 10 out of 10 banging or 10 out of 10 stinking. However, she has come under fire after she was seen criticising the food served at a homeless shelter in Glasgow. In the now deleted video, Tracy was filmed laughing and sniggering whilst carrying a food container with a plastic fork saying, "This is 10 out of 10 banging here, and we're in the homeless place getting scran." She added, "I didn't even have to fucking pay for it. Here we go." The video has been labelled as exploitative by Homeless Project Scotland, who run programmes to feed and shelter vulnerable people in Scotland. A spokesperson said, "Our services exist to provide dignity, warmth and a hot meal to those in genuine need, often people who have gone days without food or shelter. They're not here to be used as backdrops for online content or personal publicity. We find it deeply disappointing when anyone treats the reality of homelessness as entertainment. Homeless is not a trend, it's a serious crisis that demands compassion, not exploitation." Users of the app accused Tracy of taking meals from people who need it and using homelessness as a prop for content. One of those was TikToker Chloe Walker, who posted a scathing video, and she said, "She's walked into the soup kitchen and thought it was funny taking food from people who haven't had a hot meal in days. I don't know how you can take a meal from someone who needs it." Another TikToker, Shawbag, fucking great name. So the TikToker Shawbag also added, "You've gone into a space for vulnerable people that is supposed to be safe. This is food being given to folk with nothing, and you're treating it like content." Responding to the outrage surrounding her post, Tracy defended her actions in a rebuttal TikTok video. In the clip, she claimed she donated money to the shelter, despite earlier bragging she ate for free. She said, "I went with my sister, who is homeless and stays in a homeless centre. I sat with her and had food, but donated money because I am a TikToker and people know me. Take some time out of your lives from criticising people. All because I'm a big TikToker, you are criticising me. I've had to do a lot of homeless stuff. That's why I started TikTok, to make a wee bit of money and make a better life for me. So me sitting and having some food with the homeless in a shelter is not disgusting. I'm not mocking them." Tracy declined to comment when we approached them. Now, Greg, I'm just going to show you a little image of Tracy.
For fuck's sake.
Yeah, I mean, it's not like the funniest story. She's got another lovely eyebrow tattoo as well. Not the funniest story, but I wanted to highlight this because there's a trend for people doing stunts, and I see it quite a lot. Have you seen the video of that guy who is goes up to like a German tourist in London and he taps his phone and he goes, "Oh, I've just taken 10 quid, thanks mate." And the German tourist like grabs him and like stops him and he's like, no, and he's looking round. And then two undercover cops come over and arrest the guy, and the guy's like, it was a prank. He's shitting himself. Yeah. And the cops and the tourists are taking no shit from him, and he gets bundled off and put in the back of a van. And you're like, really? This is trigger happy TV and stuff was 26 years ago, and it was funny at the time. That was harmless kind of pranks. But stuff like this for content, for like TikTok, and it's going too far, and someone's going to get in serious trouble and get a serious doing for something.
Yeah, I mean, people have.
Yeah.
You know, like I saw a video on Twitter of a guy in a supermarket in America who was, what was he doing again? I think he was running up behind people and sticking a bucket in their head and then quickly sticking a bucket in his own head.
Oh, yeah.
As if, and then, I think, was it him? And then one guy was just too quick for him and absolutely beats the shit out of him in the aisle. And I'm kind of like, it's hard to feel sorry for you. You know what I mean?
No,
like the sort of pranks that I liked on Trigger Happy TV were the ones that weren't really making fun of any individuals or trying to prank anybody in a sort of, they were just kind of doing something unexpected in the street, like, which is, like something you wouldn't expect to see. But some of the best one in Trigger Happy TV was when they set up outside a grot magazine shop, and when the first guy that came out, they were like, "Oh, congratulations, you're our 1,000th customer." And Dom Jolly was dressed up like a TV presenter, and there was cameras and everything there taking his picture. That one was funny, but I liked it when he would dress up as a snowman and people would walk past, he would throw a snowball at them as well. But, that's kind of fine, but I think people go a bit far, Like, it's a bit like Jackass as well, when, like, I liked the one when they had the wee man run into a porta potty and then wearing, like, some kind of outfit, and then Preston Lacey runs out wearing the same outfit as if... the wee man's gone in there and grown up into Preston Lacey, or they would just have Preston Lacey chasing after the wee man like he had done something to it. I mean, that sort of thing's funny because that's not kind of making fun of or pranking a unsuspecting member of the public. It's just funny that no one gets hurt doing that.
Yeah, that's the thing. But to be doing stuff for content and I can quite believe that she paid for the meal at the homeless shelter, and she's just saying, haha, I got this for free because she's thinking it's this will make me edgy and it's content, and it has massively backfired, and rightfully so, because you shouldn't be exploiting things like that. Those are there for people in need. And okay, yeah, if she's paid, but then still say she's paid. And she could have done something differently with that and highlighted awareness and said that she's donated and that the food's amazing and that, it's a worthwhile cause. Please donate to this. If she wanted to generate content, doing a good thing, not trying to be hard and say that she's, getting it for free. To be fair, she said it was 10 out of 10 banging. So, it's good for something.
Yeah, she's made like a severe error of judgment there. So she has. And she should probably just have said, like, I've made a mistake here. I didn't mean it. I didn't mean to do what I've done. Really sorry. I have made a donation, etc. I didn't mean to come off insensitive, blah, blah, blah. But she's been a bit defensive. And I think in being defensive, she's sort of confirmed actually that she's a cunt, which she could have perhaps, made people believe that she wasn't.
Looking at the photos of Tracy, I just want to say it was Greg that called you a cunt, Tracy, not me. Just to make that clear. Yeah.
And I'll be in Glasgow in October if you want a square go.
We'll get TikToker Shawbag to come and help you.
Yeah.
Oh dear. Okay. Anyway, what else have you seen this week, buddy?
Well, speaking of fichting, this comes from another one for Daily Record earlier in August, and the headline reads: "Two bare-knuckle fighters in hospital after scrap at Scottish ice rink."
Oh God, it's like Small Faces.
Yeah. So this is the second big event to happen at Murrayfield this month after the Oasis concert. But this is Murrayfield Ice Arena. And Murrayfield Ice Arena hosted a bare-knuckle boxing event.
Oh my God. I thought it was two people having a fucking square go. It was an actual event.
An actual event, which has led to the venue's licence being altered. So in July, the Carnage at the Capitol event saw 30 fighters face off in one-on-one matchups in the sport's first professional event in Scotland. The arena's bosses thought that it fell within the terms of their indoor sports entertainment licence, which allows ice hockey, ice skating, roller skating, boxing, and similar.
Oh.
But Edinburgh Council officers disagreed, saying that what they termed both as bare-knuckle fighting and bare-knuckle boxing were not similar to the sports listed in the licence. And they took the rare step of writing a letter to the city's licensing subcommittee asking for the term "and similar" to be removed from the licence. In a narrow 4-3 vote, some fight fans on that panel. Councillors sided with officers, with the 2 Labour and 2 Conservative councillors voting to modify the licence. At the event, at least 2 boxers were sent to hospital, one with a broken jaw, and fighters had a range of injuries, including an arm fracture and a torn ACL, which I understand is really fucking sore.
Yeah.
During Monday's meeting of the committee, licensing manager Catherine Scanlon said concerns were raised ahead of this event, and this was raised with the organiser. However, the event did go ahead on the 5th of July. It's the directorate's view that we want to avoid any ambiguity under what activities should be included in the licence. The inclusion of the words "and similar," which was used by the applicant to justify the operation of this event, so we would ask to remove the phrase "and similar." Tom Veach, Trading Standards manager, said it was advertised as featuring blood spattering, bone shattering, blood spills and carnage in relation to the event. The concerns were such that both the council and the police considered the use of an immediate suspension. On this occasion, concerns were resolved less than 24 hours before the event. There was, however, significant council officer and police officers required for the event to go ahead. The police sergeant in the meeting said that Police Scotland had no contributions to make to the committee about the event. Bare knuckle boxing is legal in the UK, but has no official regulator. So the event in July took place under the regulation of the International Sport Karate Association. Caroline Loudon, a solicitor representing the ICE Arena, said, "We're slightly surprised to get the notification to come to the committee today. It's our position that there is no ambiguity here and that it's not necessary to vary the terms of the licence at all. We don't feel that the application by the Directorate is necessary or proportionate in the circumstances in this case." Scott Neal, who's the manager of who's involved in the management of the arena, said that ice hockey alone could not sustain the site by itself year round, causing it to look for events in the summer months. He said that he felt that the event was safe and that the sports supporters would say it is safer than gloved boxing for a range of reasons, including the limits on the length of the fights. But Tory councillor Cuthbert Neal, I mean, what else was Cuthbert Neal going to grow up to be with a name like that other than a fucking Conservative councillor in Edinburgh? He said, "I think I'm happy to go with the recommendation of the report, but just reflecting, we've had quite a lengthy discussion about this. I think it has flagged up an issue that others have noticed as well. There is an ambiguity, so it does seem to me that that has to be resolved." Obviously the Liberal Democrats councillor Pauline Flannery advanced an alternative position, saying, "I think boxing is similar. I don't think there's a difference, but it's what I want to do for the future that I'm hearing underneath, and that's a separate conversation." So I did not realise that bare knuckle fighting / boxing was legal. I always thought that was something that gypsies did.
I don't know if, can you say that word, Greg?
I always thought that was something that Romany gypsies did. I think you can say that.
I have to agree. I thought that was what the travelling community did as well. I did not realise it was legal in the UK, but there's no
legal but not
body.
Regulated. Yeah, I mean, that sounds like a recipe for disaster to me. It doesn't, not to you.
Yeah, because then how does that stop like a scrap in the street? That's just like a unsanctioned bare knuckle boxing match. Is that? Yeah. Then can you get arrested for that? Or if both parties say no, we're just having a bare knuckle boxing match. I don't know how that would work, but I never realised it was legal. That's bizarre, and especially for a venue like that to be putting that on. How do you think that's a good idea? I don't understand that at all.
It just doesn't seem smart to me, that at all. And I don't know, I mean, they're saying that, well, actually it's safer than boxing because the fights, I'm assuming, they say they don't go on for as long, so I'm assuming that they mean there's not as many rounds in a bare knuckle fight, and maybe the rounds are shorter as well. Maybe they stop it at a certain point. But the thing is, in boxing, and there's been lots of examples of this, it can literally be a lucky punch that the recipient of the punch does not roll with or take properly, and they can end up like affected for life. You know, there's a lot of, like Michael Watson famously, that Chris Eubank fought, and there's an even worse example in America. And that's with boxing gloves on.
Yeah.
So you have to imagine, like, with a bare knuckle fight, because a boxing glove is not going to make you hit harder. It's supposed to a boxing glove's supposed to absorb some of it, right? So the boxers don't get too, like, theoretically they shouldn't get injured as seriously as they potentially could if somebody hit them with a bare fist. That's why the whole Queensberry rules was introduced when boxing became a sport in the 19th century, you know? So yeah, I'm quite surprised. I'm quite surprised to see that there's a burgeoning bare knuckle fighting events itinerary in the UK, and they're advertising it by saying blood splattering, bone crunching, blood spilling, come and see the carnage in the capital. It's sort of,
Jesus.
you know, like people like to see people beat the shit out of each other. That's why wrestling is so successful. Although in wrestling, it's a lot. You know, obviously we know that there's a high degree of theatricality there and stuff, and the wrestlers, as much as possible, try not to injure each other. But that's why that's why MMA has become so popular over the years, because MMA is like, it's wrestling, but with theatricality taken out of it, and the guys are actually beating the shit out of each other. Yeah, you know what I mean?
And that's why I like wrestling. I like the theme music and the costumes and
the
pageantry and
the boas and the makeup.
It's all part of it. That's what, my girlfriend's like, why do you watch this? And I'm like, because I just like all the storylines and the theatrics and it's wonderful. Yeah. I don't want to see people beat the shit out of each other.
Yeah,
you know, Apollo Creed died in the ring, and that's someone we should never forget.
We should never forget. They show some respect, MMA organisers and athletes.
Yeah, it's not snatch. You know, you can't go around bare knuckle boxing.
But did you see that thing in the news this week? In America, there was the guy who basically beat a wrestler in an exhibition, and the wrestler flatlined. I think they managed to bring him back, but this guy just took it too far. And it was supposed to be. It wasn't in WWE. It was in a smaller franchise company. It's
the guy that did it is Rampage Jackson's son.
Yes,
Rampage Jackson was a UFC fighter. He played BA in the 80s film.
That's right. I was trying to place him when you said Rampage Jackson. That's right. Yeah, I thought he was all right.
He was all right. Yeah, he was okay. But it was his son that did it. And the guy's still in critical condition.
Yeah. You know, I mean, come on. So yeah, I don't think I'd be buying tickets for Carnage in the Capital.
No,
I don't think. I think I'll leave them to it. But I will be keeping an eye out. I'll be watching from afar. Anyway, that's my second story. Back to your good self.
My second story is from the Daily Record this week, Greg. And the headline is, Vintage shop owner finds stash of drugs in pocket of 1990s Stone Island jacket. It's great.
Living the dream.
A vintage shop owner was left stunned after he found drugs stashed in the pocket of a jacket. Chris Boyle, owner of the Dundee Soul store in the city's Wellgate shopping centre, found a block of soap bar hash after purchasing a Stone Island jacket from 1997. He reckons the drugs have lain inside the garment for nearly 30 years. Chris, who opened the shop 7 years ago, said, "The jacket came from one of our long-standing vintage suppliers, based in the south of England. We work with them regularly to source unique and authentic pieces, and occasionally those pieces arrive with unexpected little time capsules hidden inside." The jacket has since been sold to a customer, and it proved particularly popular after people heard about its unusual find. The discovery tops the list of strangest things he's found in vintage clothes, and is now proudly on display within his shop in the northeast. The 37-year-old added, "The soap bar has been kept here at the Dundee Soul as part of our small but growing collection of unusual discoveries. We see it as a light-hearted reminder of the charm and unpredictability of working with vintage clothing. Over the years, we've uncovered a surprising number of unusual items, hidden away in pockets, linings and boxes. Many of them have been small snapshots of the moment in time. Ordinary objects, but frozen in the year they were left behind." Chris, why don't you list any of them in this article? I want to know what they are. That's a bloody thing. Chris shared the rare find in a Facebook post, and he wrote, "You find some funny things in the pockets of vintage jackets. My favourite finds truly are the things that have been long forgotten. This is hilarious. Found in the pocket of a 90s Stone Island Razzo. There's nothing more nostalgic to someone from Scotland in the 90s than a bit of soap bar. The find went down well with customers who flocked to the comments section to joke about the discovery. One posted, "Oh, the smell of that. I wish Yankee had done a candle like that one." Another said, "I once bought a Burberry golf jacket on eBay from a guy in Aberdeen. It had a £20 note inside the inside pocket." A third joked, "Stick it in the pocket of someone in the shop. Lucky dip style. That'll boost your sales." And another poster said, "The cause of many a ruined shell suit."
Yeah.
Chris told the record of the other rare finds he made whilst running the shop, finding everything from women's knickers to cinema tickets for 90s blockbusters. As well as a ticket from London's King Cross station, he found in a jacket from the 70s, he also came across a cinema stub for the original Jurassic Park from July 1993. Oh, well, there you go. So, yeah, a lump of soap bar hash, Greg. Have you ever found... I mean, that's the dream, isn't it? When you find like a £20 note in an old pair of jeans or something.
I thought you were going to say that's a dream when you find a big bit of
lump
drugs.
Lump of
hash.
Yeah. I did... the only time I think that's happened to me, I bought... It was when I was in Dubai. It was my very first set of golf clubs. And it was like an old, like a Dunlop kind of starter kit. Golf clubs, and I bought them on Dubizzle, and I think I paid the guy 300 dirhams for them or something, which isn't a lot, like, you know, for
£100 or something, right?
It was a set of irons, a putter, a driver, a 3-wood, and the bag and stuff, and it was all right, fine. And I got them home, and I was just checking everything, and I unzipped the packet, and I found a 500 dirham note in the the bag. So. Perfect. 200 dirhams up and a set of golf clubs. So that was great. But I can't think of anything else that I've found in things that I've purchased. I mean, I don't really purchase a lot of secondhand stuff, but no. I guess you can find these things.
Yeah, like I found things like, you know, like I remember my dad and I clearing out the loft at my grandparents' house when my granny was moving into a home, and like my granda had stuff wrapped in old newspapers and things from like the 60s and 70s, and just stuff he'd kept. Like he kept like old magazines that I had bought in the early 90s. I bought this magazine called Now, which was like a sort of pop music magazine, and I had 2 episodes, one with Martika's Kitchen on the front and one with Mark Wahlberg, as he's better known now, but back when he was Marky Mark, reviewing that week's top 10 of like, must be like 1990 or 1991, and just like roasting every single song. So like kind of stuff like that, you know, like when we, you know, like my dad was a terrible hoarder, you know, apart from all the fucking grot mags and pornography that we found that was, you know, just like tapes and tapes and tapes of stuff that he'd, like videos that he'd taped, like of films that he taped off the telly, like usually westerns like Pale Rider and The Outlaw Josie Wales and A Man Called Horse and all that, and Excalibur. And I'm just thinking, why the fuck is he keep all these? Because he hadn't had like a video player for probably about... Oh no, I tell a lie. He had a couple of video players like stuck in that wardrobe as well, just fucking sitting in there gathering dust. So I don't know, he obviously thought he might need them again at one point. And he had a load of albums that he had taped onto cassettes at various times over the years that he'd kept as well. And I was just like, you know, he just wouldn't part with anything. His bedroom was like fucking Steptoe's yard. You know, well, the wardrobes and all that, the bedroom was, but even, you know, like fucking shoes, like boots and shoes that he'd held on to for fucking about 30 years, you know, like paint covered fucking work boots, just in case Emmy needed them. Like my sister went up into his loft, and there was like 20 brand new broom handles that were all sort of strapped together. He'd obviously just seen them at a job and thought, oh, they might come in handy, I've fucking taken them. You know, just stuck them in a loft, like out of sight. God knows how long they've been there for.
That's brilliant. I was like, well, yeah, it's true. You never know. You never know when it's going to come in handy. You might have gone there one day and needed a pair of boots for some job, and he's like, oh, I've got the very thing. And
a broom handle with a head, that might needed. Yeah.
You never know. It's handy.
He did. I think in hindsight, I think my dad was a bit sticky-fingered, to be honest, because there was tons and tons of sort of building and joinery materials, like boxes and boxes and boxes of screws and nails and fucking, he had bits of timber and all sorts of stuff up there. He could have built another fucking house with all and he's obviously just, tools. Tons and tons of tools and stuff that he'd obviously just fucking helped himself to when the opportunity presented itself, and then he could have been fucking selling them, making a few quid down the pub, or whatever. But he just held on to them in case they came in handy. He said,
I don't know. Can you sell claw hammers down the pub nowadays? I think might be frowned upon, or maybe it's like bare knuckle boxing. It's okay. I don't know.
But I remember being in, my granny used to live in Hamilton Hill next to Postle, and I'd been in a couple of pubs in Postle when I was younger with my uncles, and you get guys coming in that had obviously been shoplifting or whatever, or just on the rob. And I remember going in to the toilet in, which pub was it? I can't remember. Maybe there's the Saracen Bar on Saracen Street. It might have been there. I went in there and there was a guy who had basically all these fucking wares all laid out. He had pairs of jeans and all that, just having a piss. He was like, "Oh, take a look, mate, see if anything catches your eye." It's set up a little shop in the fucking gents.
That's brilliant.
That was maybe in the late 90s or something. I was already frightened being in there anyway. I was glad I was with my uncle. I was, I did not belong in that pub.
I was just reminiscing the other day. I won't tell the first part of the story because that's quite recently relevant. But I was telling my girlfriend about how my mum and my sister back in the early 90s, I think, used to go to shoplifting parties.
Right.
She's like, what? And I was like, it was round one of their friends' house and be like, the shoplifters are coming round. And it was this woman that used to just go into, it was her job, but it was like a Tupperware party, but it was all the stuff that she'd stolen from River Island or, John Lewis and stuff over the course of the week. And it was like, anything here take your fancy and stuff. And it was like, Jesus Christ, the things you forget about but nowadays.
I remember when I was at college and we were in the first year I was at college, we were in the Gordon Centre up at the Bridge of Dawn next to where the Gordon Highlanders is, next to their regimental barracks.
Yeah. Aberdeen
College, the campus there. And we used to go down to the Dawn View pub just down the road. It's just before the bridge as you're coming towards town. Could walk down in 5 or 10 minutes. And I remember early on, I think we finished early one day and went down there for a jar, and a couple of young guys came in and they were dressed really smart and they had loads and loads of men's shirts for sale. I can't remember the brand. I think it was it was a decent brand, but they were probably knockoffs in hindsight.
Yeah.
And they were selling 2 shirts for 20 quid. Until the bartender chased them, But they sold quite a few shirts before the bartender chased them, I did notice. And that kind of reminded me of being in that pub in Saracen Street in Glasgow.
Fantastic. Well, there we go. There's some retro drugs found in a Stone Island jacket. It had to be a Stone Island jacket, didn't it? Of course it did. Or a dready hoodie or something.
Yeah, well, Stone Island's expensive. I was in Fraser's in Glasgow a couple of summers ago, and they had a Stone Island section down the stairs, and I had a wee look at I never had any Stone Island stuff. I never really liked it, the style of it that much. Wasn't really my cup of tea, but it's really expensive. Just for a sort of the sort of signature jacket is, you're looking at about $1,000.
Yeah,
really expensive.
Yeah, they are. I'm the same. I've never owned anything Stone Island, and I'd probably I can say I never would. Just not my cup of tea. But so a little bit of retro drugs. I love that. A little time capsule.
Yeah, I like that kind
of
thing,
the time. Yeah, very good.
Yeah. I used to always use my train tickets as a bookmark when I was doing a lot of travel by train. And sometimes if I go back to read a book that I've read before, I'll find an old train ticket from years ago that'll fall out the back of the cover because I just leave it in the book when I finish the book,
I had that recently when I was going through my books. And I opened one and I found a ticket stub from Aberdeen versus Kilmarnock from 1999. And I was like, oh, wow, that's a blast from the past. That was brilliant. So, yeah, it was very nice. Yeah. Oh, good.
Excellent.
Okay. Have you seen anything else this week, mate?
Nope. That's my 2.
Okay, right. Well, before we enter the silly season, let's have a little word from our sponsors.
Now there's an even better choice at Gerard's, where Gerard himself presides over the marvellous cuisine. A new a la carte menu with a choice of over 30 dishes, 8 fish dishes alone. A new 4-course menu complet plus coffee, only £13.85. Business lunches under £5. And on Saturdays, lunch is served under the fig tree in the unique garden room. Now, more than ever, there's nowhere quite like Gerard's, Aberdeen's favourite restaurant.
Okay, so it was your choice this week, Nikki, for our movie or TV show we'll be discussing. So why don't you introduce this week's content?
Thank you very much, Greg. So today we are talking about an episode of the BBC show Play for Today, which was a television anthology drama series produced by the BBC and transmitted on BBC One and ran from 1970 to 1984. So we've covered a few of these over the years. I had to look back. We've done, can you see a trend here, Greg? We did Just Another Saturday, The Elephant's Graveyard, Just a Boys Game, and then we did The Slab Boys. So the episode that we'll be looking at aired as part of Series 12, and it aired on the 9th of February 1982, and it is called The Silly Season. Directed by Alex Marshall and written by Stephen Mulroney, it follows 4 students who start working at a factory over the summer and meet Malcolm, who is hating his existence in the factory and at home. The students reawaken both his passion for political leanings and for romance. Starring Derek Anders, Francis Lowe, Mary Riggans, Ian Laughlin, Elaine Collins, Tony Roper, Jake Darcy, Jonathan Watson, and Pierce Brosnan. Greg, this was, I think you said you hadn't really heard of it last week. Is this your first time watching The Silly Season?
It's my first time. I hadn't. I found in the process of preparing for the podcast, I found a website called Letterboxd, and they've organised the plays for today's quite well because, you know, in the years that it ran, there was, I think the article I read said 316 episodes, and I thought that I'd seen most of the Scottish episodes of it, if not all, really. And you know, I've watched a lot of English ones as well, and I really like A Play for Today. It's very, you know, because they tend to be very topical. Sometimes they're quite serious, sometimes they're quite funny. This one is sort of somewhere in between. Yeah, I was really interested to watch it, and I actually really enjoyed it as well. It's got an absolutely brilliant cast of sort of Swally stalwarts and one or two actors making their Swally debut, such as Pierce Brosnan, bizarrely.
He was in The Match.
Of course, yeah, he was in The Match, wasn't he? Yeah, I forgot he was in it. Yeah, so yeah, but crikey. Like, double Brosnan in the space of 3 episodes. I don't think we've had Derek Anders, though. Well, actually, I tell a lie. I was going to ask you. So Derek Anders was in Taking Over the Asylum, and he's credited as Billy, and I could not remember who the character of Billy was for the life of me.
I couldn't remember either, because I went back and had a look at his IMDb, obviously, to see that he appeared in Taking Over the Asylum, and I couldn't remember either, but I think he was in 6 episodes, so...
Yeah, he must have been
I don't know if he must have been a patient, or I couldn't remember, and I didn't want I could have just skimmed through the first episode and seen, but I'm not sure.
Yeah. So yeah, I really liked it. It sort of ticks a lot of the kind of Play for Today boxes. It's, you know, it's sort of doing its best to be topical. There's a bit of pathos. There's quite a lot of humour in there. I'd say it's sort of classic Play for Today material.
Oh yeah, I would completely agree with you on that. It is, classic Play for Today. I think Play for Todays were often, they had like a little bit of a political edge to them sometimes, and kind of in that time area. It was my first time watching it as well. I think I only discovered this. I must have been looking at somebody's IMDb. It must have been probably Darcy or Watson. And I think I saw this and I maybe saw it again on someone else's and was like, okay, I need to check this, because whenever I see a play for today mentioned, I click on it to find out which one and see if it's something that we could do. Incidentally, whilst I was researching this episode, I found a website that has every single episode of Play for Today on it.
You're
so
dancing.
I will send that across to you.
Yeah.
So it must have been, and then I looked it up on YouTube and saw that some kind soul had uploaded this and just kind of parked it as, we'll maybe do that at some point.
Yeah.
So yeah, I just thought it was time. I thought it would be exciting to look at something covering labour disputes in a factory. I did enjoy it. It is, as you say, it is kind of a classic kind of Play for Today sketch. It's quite funny. There are some very amusing moments in it, but it's quite serious and it's very of its time, and you have the factory element, and then you're getting Malcolm's home life, but you're also getting the students as well. And it's very interesting of that time to see the kind of the disparity between the two, because you can kind of see that the factory workers almost resent the students in a way, that they're coming in for the silly season. I thought also it was a very key kind of touch point of the time, because Malcolm, they're talking a lot about automation and the automation process of the factory and what's this going to mean for his job in the future. And the students touch upon it earlier when they're saying that, I think it's, I'm going to jump about in this episode between calling the characters their names, the actors' names, and their nicknames. So let's just say Jonathan Watson, aka Brian, aka Dr. Teeth. He's talking about the guys playing shove halfpenny with bottle tops in the toilets, and Trotsky saying that, well, when the machines are running, they can do what they like. They don't have to be there and do anything. And Malcolm hits on it later on when he's talking about time cards being punched automatically and machines doing all the work. The time of automation was coming, and it was a scary place for factory workers that, as Malcolm says, like, it's fine for you, but for me, this is my future that's kind of going tits up with automation. And it must have been terrifying.
Well, this is it. I mean, it's sort of, there's automation, but there's also the sort of decline of British industry in general. Like the government at the time, getting things done cheaper. Margaret Thatcher's war on the unions and all that kind of thing. They don't go into all that. They go as far as the automation. But I think really by this point, this is the early 80s. Sort of famously 6 million people unemployed in the UK, and a lot of traditional community industries being run down. I mean, I think it's only like 2 years before the miners' strike and all that sort of thing. So yeah, I mean, I think this is where it maybe doesn't get long enough to explore all these themes, because really very quickly the show sort of starts off where a lot of the focus is about sort of Malcolm's past as a sort of trade union leader and people's concerns about the factory and everything else, and how the students see the workers and things. But then it kind of quickly changes direction, and it becomes more about Leslie and Alistair's relationship and Malcolm's long sort of fancying, for want of a better word, of Leslie, and then how that develops in his home life. And it does become a bit soap opera in the sort of second half of the programme. It doesn't really, and Malcolm isn't arsed about his job, is he, by that point? He skives off for the day with Leslie, and they go to the loch and sit by the loch and everything, have a kiss and a cuddle, and he's not bothered about his job. So they could maybe be interesting to see, I don't know, maybe the writer hoped that, because a lot of these plays for today, as quite a few of them became TV shows, right? They, in their own right, became their own, and maybe he was hoping that this might become a series and he could explore some of these themes that he's interested in a bit more.
Yeah, I think you're right, because Malcolm, as Eddie J. Darcy's character puts it, he was very much into the union. He was a shop steward, but he didn't support a strike. And as Eddie puts it, he was flung out the brownies.
Yeah.
Tell me about your activist past.
What, shop steward?
I was for a while. Shop steward, by Christ. He was a golden boy. Cock of the North, we rid D-side.
That's history, Eddie.
Aye, till he got flung out. He wouldn't support a strike.
Matter of principle, Eddie.
Drummed out the brownies. Well, I get caught tea leafing. Cop the Pansy Potters, Holy Joe when they call out the troops. Right. You started for 12, what was all that about?
No, it wasn't as simple as that. It was persistent theft, bad timekeeping. He was a management hostage, Eddie, a bloody gift horse.
Aye. Well, that was the day when your money wasn't where your mouth was.
And he's fallen out of love with that kind of thing. And, his wife, Ellen, says to him, I thought you were done with all that. And he really is, nowadays, he's depressed. Is Malcolm's, he's unhappy at work, he just doesn't care, he's obviously miserable at home. And, I feel I feel sorry for his wife, Ellen, really. I mean, okay, she goes on a bit, but she keeps trying to say, what's wrong? He's saying nothing. And he does say at one point, I'm just fed up. And, he's depressed. He's got nothing in his life. And that's when Leslie comes along. Maybe he sees that as something new and something, this is hope. This is something that he could possibly have. But he even kind of fucks that up in the end, really. And it's a shame. I do feel sorry for Malcolm. And I guess that's maybe how a lot of men his age felt at the time, and that just the struggle of he's got nothing going on. And you're right, there is a spark kind of gets ignited with the students, that he kind of feels that he can talk to Alistair about these political things, but is he just using Alistair to get to Leslie? Because immediately, the first time he sees her, he's just staring at her.
He comes over before she appears, doesn't he? Because the guys are all John Mickey and Jonathan Watson and what's his name? The guy Ian Loughlin are having their tea break, and he comes over to join them, and he's having his cup of tea, and obviously we've had the earlier scene when he's kind of got between Curly, as they call Alistair, and Tony Roper's character. And, he's endeared himself to Alistair. And so he comes over to chat to them. And it feels like he's interested in the conversation. He's asking them what they're studying. And, you sort of get the feeling that he's an intelligent guy who maybe in the multiverse could have gone and been academic, like these three young guys, but his life's taken him into the factory. You know what I mean?
Yeah, because he's obviously very well read. He's able to converse to Alistair on things they're talking about. He invites them to go and see a Chilean talk that he thinks that Alistair and Leslie would be interested in. And he knows his stuff. And you're right, almost like he's kind of wasted at the factory, but he's kind of given up. And I don't even know if he sees himself above the likes of Eddie and Barney, or I think probably to an extent he does, but I don't think they see him as above them, because
I don't. They just see him as another one of the workers, right?
Yeah, and probably that maybe they did see him higher when he was a shop steward, but now he's down, so they just treat him exactly like he's on their level. And I think, his home life, he's got a loving wife, but you can tell he's just completely checked out. And he's had enough. And
But is she a loving wife? Because Mary Riggans she's pretty shrill in this. You know what I mean? Like, she's kind of hectoring. Well, she starts off really hectoring, and she's giving him a hard time about not going to see his dad, who appears to be severely disabled and sort of catatonic in a hospital bed. And then, when she gets the news, when she gets the news that the daughter Isabel's pregnant, I mean, she really goes for it, Mary Riggans, in a big, big way. And when I think of Mary Riggans, I always think of her as Effie in Take the High Road. And she was like a really, really likeable character as Effie. I always really liked Effie in Take the High Road. But, in this, and of course, I think more recently she was famous for being in Tobamori, the kids program, as one of the characters in that. But in this, she's shrill. And it's no surprise. I mean, going in and getting fucking talked at and bollocked at home when you just want to sit and read the paper. You know what I mean? It
is a wonderful slice of life in that bit when she's telling him about the phone call she's had with Eileen, her eldest daughter.
But we call.
Yeah, and he's just not listening. And he's just speaking away, and then it becomes evident he's not listening, and she just kind of gives up. She has got a couple of the great parts in this, though, Mary Riggans, in terms of, there is a scene where she's doing, I had just written down, aggressive knitting.
Angry knitting. I've written
really
that
angry knitting. and then angry ironing as well. But I think my favourite part of the whole thing is, and I know we're skipping ahead here a lot, but it's when the boyfriend, is it Jamie? No,
Jimmy.
Jimmy.
Yeah.
Of course it's Jimmy. When he's on the phone to her, we'll come back to that later. I've got a real want to talk about that scene. But she comes off the phone and he's obviously told her about Leslie. And it just cuts to Isabel. And you just hear Mary Riggans go, "Right, you!" and slaps her.
Yeah.
it's
Right, you!
It's the right you. It's fucking brilliant. It just fucking clocks her across the face. Oh, wonderful Mary Riggans. Yeah. I can see her point. She probably is a little bit of a pain. And I think she just wants to know what's up with Malcolm, though. Because there's obviously something up with him. He's not talking. He's not interested. He's just away. So she obviously knows something's up. And then, of course, finds out, who is some wee tart. Has she got a name? She really goes off on one on this, definitely.
Yeah, I mean, there's a bit of sort of, I don't know, sort of 1980s real domestic kind of drama there. And the character that I found quite interesting is Elaine Collins is Isabel. She's sort of gothy. She's into music, whatever that means. And
the Boomtown Rats.
Yeah, the sort of sad, I think probably they could a really sad scene in it. It's like after Mary Riggans finds out about Malcolm and Leslie, and Malcolm, he's fallen asleep in front of the telly in a chair. And, Isabel comes through. By this point, we know she's pregnant. Her mum knows she's pregnant. Her sister knows she's pregnant. It's caused all these problems. And she kind of comes through looking for an ally. And she even calls him Daddy. And he's, he kind of wakes up and he's just not engaged at all. She doesn't want to go to Manchester. No. So that in all this to have the baby adopted and everything. And she's kind of looking for her dad to, I guess, the way I read it, she's looking for her dad to give her the answers because she's like a young woman who's found herself unexpectedly pregnant to a guy that she's, can't stand, evidently, it's, he's no use to her at all, he's barely listening and she just has to kind of walk away from him. And then the last scene is her and her mum and sister, and I assume wee Paul walking into Glasgow Central. Well, not the last scene, the second to last scene, and just for the credits roll. And it's it's really sad. Because he's got himself into such a funk that he can't, he doesn't sort of recognise his responsibility to his daughter anymore, and his family, and she's obviously going through this horrendous, unplanned, life-changing thing, and he's just at a complete loss. And it's not even, he doesn't even try to kind of help her. He's sort of spaced out a wee bit,
He's not even mentioning the pregnancy or anything. Because he obviously finds out about it, but then it's after that he goes on his little loch date with Leslie. Yeah. And you never see him. The next time you see him in the family dynamic is when Mary Riggans is asking him, who the wee tart is, and effectively throwing him out and, telling him he can sleep in Isabel's room. Mm-hmm. And he never mentions anything about the fact that his daughter's pregnant.
Yeah.
And you're right, that is a heartbreaking scene when she comes through to him. She's, initially she says to Jimmy she's going to get an abortion. Then she's getting heavily pressured from her sister. And that summed up the time as well. And I guess the Catholic kind of way of the obvious solution is, you're going to marry him.
Yeah.
Because that's the solution. You have to marry him. And then it turns out, no, you're going to go to Manchester. You're going to go away to have the baby so no one knows. Yeah. And that did happen quite a lot at that time. And then come back mysteriously 9 months later and, pretend nothing happened.
Yeah. It's not the plot of Peter Mullen's film, The Magdalene Sisters, that's set in Ireland, but it's girls like Isabel but they go to, I don't know, it's like a sort of facility run by the nuns to have the children there, but it's also a bit of a school as well. I think I haven't seen it for years. I can't quite remember, but I think it was something that was very common right up until I get, at least the 1980s, if not later, which is weird. It's weird to think that sort of thing went on in our lifetimes,
Yeah, we could easily quantum leap into that situation, Greg.
Could they easily do that?
We could. It's in our lifetime, so yeah, we'd be able to. Yeah, definitely. So the students at the factory, I guess Alistair is the main one, really, played by Ian Loughlin. As we said, or Curly, or Big Al, as he likes to call himself. He's so familiar. And I was looking at his IMDb and I'm trying to work out, is it he was on Playbus or Playdays? And I don't know if it's that where I know him from. Of course, he's gone on to huge success. He's one of the creators of the Tweenies.
Yeah.
And it's but he seems so familiar to me. And I can't work out what it is. Where...
It must be from Playbus.
It must be.
Yeah.
I mean, on IMDb, it says he's only in 5 or 6 episodes, but I think IMDb can be iffy on things like that at times. So I think he was in it for a longer run. And I think that must be where I know him from. But he's kind of, not long after this, kind of gave up acting and he's done children's kind of TV and music since then. And to be one of the co-creators of the Tweenies, that's fucking made,
they've done well. I mean, the thing is, those kind of Playbuses and Playdays, they only filmed maybe 20 episodes, then they just repeat them because they're for little kids. And they probably don't realise that they've seen it before, as they're getting older. So maybe you just saw him a load of times in the same episodes over the years before you stopped watching it.
Maybe.
But he's a bit of a gobshite, isn't he? That's the thing. I mean, because it's in terms of the main male protagonist, it's a bit of a toss up between him and Malcolm, really. And it feels like it's more him early on, and then it becomes a little less about him and more about Malcolm. But he's got this really weird kind of manifesto about art and not doing... Because he's obsessed with, for a while, he's obsessed with painting Leslie evidently sitting in the toilet doing a shit.
Yeah.
It's to the point
breaking the last taboo.
Yeah. Is that the last taboo? I feel like there's worse stuff than doing a picture of somebody doing a jobby. I don't think that's a last... I think that's a last taboo. I'm sure there's, I've seen enough on the internet to know that it's not the last taboo. But he's got this, there's the scene when Pierce Brosnan's character Dennis gets a tax rebate and takes him and Leslie to the pub. And we sort of join them in the pub and they're all drinking pints, including Leslie, who evidently likes a pint because when we see her in the pub with Malcolm later on, she's on pints. Yeah. But Alistair is fucking banjoed. And Dennis and Leslie are fine. And you have to assume that Dennis at least is going to be matching drinks with Alistair. But maybe Leslie can just hold her water. I don't know.
Yeah, I mean, I just presumed that was to show that Dennis is obviously Irish and a hard-working man, so he can take his drink. You got a funny feeling Leslie's probably just nursing the same pint. But Alistair's just absolutely shit-faced and obviously can't get his trousers off later and pukes into a bucket. I don't really like the character of Alistair in that he's, as you say, he's a bit of a gobshite. He thinks he's superior to everyone else. And he kind of gets on okay with Malcolm, but it's revealing when they're in the bed when he's in the bed with Leslie. And oh my God, all that ginger hair.
I know. I've written in my notes ginger union because there's a scene where it just looks like their hair looks exactly the same shade of ginger, and it's one big mass of hair when their heads are close together.
I just thought it was 1982. Could you imagine what's going on under the covers there? That's just going to be tangerine candy floss everywhere. It's just going to be...
He reminded me of an odd moment. So he says to her, wait a wee minute. And then he sort of wriggles about and I thought, he's pulling his Y-fronts on or something. He's going to get up and go for a pish. But he says, wait a minute, wriggles his Y-fronts on, then just turns his back on and then goes to sleep.
Yeah, that was very strange to me as well.
I don't know about you, but if I ever behaved like that with a woman, I'd be getting my fucking arse kicked right out of that single bed. I wouldn't be getting a lovely little spoon off my female companion. I'd be getting a fucking kick in the ginger balls.
because they're like midway through a conversation, and then you're right. He's like, "Oh, wait a minute," and just like, "Okay, that's it." But then they carry on. I mean, well, she says you're taking up the middle, but that is when they have the conversation about Malcolm, and they're basically like, "Well, I feel sorry for him," and it's very condescending in terms of like, poor Malcolm. You know, that's all he kind of amounts to. What a shame. Never mind.
Yeah.
But he's very quick. When he agrees to go and see the Chilean speaker, he's very quick to be like, he's not going to go. And he lies to Leslie. And that's a very odd bit as well when he's like, I need to go to see a studio. They've literally just spoken about, not going to the Chilean thing. Shall we get a curry and watch a film? And then he's like, I can't go tonight anyway. I've got to go and see the studio. He's not. He's going with Dennis to get a toilet seat.
Nick a toilet
building seat.
out of a new build.
With the intention of drawing Leslie on it and naked doing a shite. But it just seemed very odd for that kind of thing. And he's a bit of a dick. And he just seems a bit, I don't know, naive, but trying to fit in. Like when he's sitting with the group outside, everyone's playing football and he's sitting there and Leslie's eating a flake and he says to her, "You look like one of those porny adverts." And you're like, you fucking wet blanket. Like, one, you don't say that to your girlfriend in front of everyone, but do one of those porny adverts. But that did lead me to think, the flake adverts were a bit porny, weren't they?
I was going to say, I remember those flake adverts distinctly. And I mean, a lot of 80s advertising, I think that's sort of seen as a bit of a, what's the word, apex mountain that they use in the rewatchables for advertising. Because you had like Ridley Scott doing adverts for Nat West using like the Blade Runner kind of world, you know what I mean? And the sort of classic Volkswagen adverts. But those flake adverts were just like a beautiful model essentially filleting a chocolate bar.
The one I remember is, lying in the bath with the water overflowing and a flake. And you're like, Jesus, you wouldn't get an advert like that nowadays.
Well, have you seen the Domino's pizza advert?
No, I don't watch a lot of TV.
Right.
Like
my daughter and I watch The Chase every evening, right? And it's on at 8 o'clock here because it's on at 5 o'clock in the UK. And there's an advert, right, where there is a sort of Arabic-y looking guy in the bath with a white lady, right? No, that doesn't matter, right? The ethnicity doesn't matter. Only to say that the Arabic guy's pretty hairy. And they're in the bath together. And they're talking about ordering a pizza, right? The Domino's pizza delivery man emerges from the water behind the guy and passes over a pepperoni pizza to the lady. This is after the lady has got some bubbles on her toes and popped her toes on the guy's nose, so he's got a bubbly nose. And I think the strapline is Domino's, we're always closer than you think, or faster than you think, or something. And then the delivery guy sort of descends back beneath the bathwater, and the couple enjoy their Domino's pizza together in the bath. And I thought, it's not what I expected to see.
Wow. I'm going to have to seek out that advert just to see it. That's, I'd written here you wouldn't get an advert like that nowadays, but obviously you would. Wow.
Yeah. I mean, nobody's particularly good looking in this Domino's advert. It's all I'll say. There's certainly nobody to the same level as the ladies that used to pose with the flakes in those old adverts anyway.
But to say to your girlfriend, you look like one of those porny adverts, and then kind of that. He's obviously freeloading on Leslie because she mentions a few times it's her place. And then, she kind of chucks him out. But then he comes back with his biryani and it's fine. Back into it. Now, and of course, she kind of throws him out and they split up. The next day at the factory, he's laughing away with, John Michie and I think is it Eddie they're with? And like not caring about it. That's right, because they're talking about Dr. Teeth getting covered in cola in the toilets.
Yeah, that's right.
But then he comes back with his biryani, and the last time you see them, they're in bed together. Leslie's awake, kind of looking wistful. That's not going to last very long, is it?
No, and like Leslie's character it's not really. I mean, I suppose they're trying to tell a lot of story in a fairly short space of time. But all we really understand about Leslie is that she's obviously English. which kind of makes her a bit of the odd one out in this factory in Glasgow. And she comes from a bit of money, you know. She's got her own flat, which I think it's said or suggested that her dad pays for or whatever. And that somebody asks her if her dad... Somebody says, oh, she's here because... You hear because your dad's got shares in the factory, and they both kind of laugh it off. You know, Leslie laughs it off as well, you know, like she's a good sport. But yeah, we don't really... And she's studying embroidery.
Yeah.
Can you study embroidery at like college or university?
Well, I think, because I'd written that down, I think she's studying weaving, specifically embroidery.
Yeah,
which is like, you're going to art school for embroidery. I guess, obviously, it's a thing. And she has her rug that, or do they say it's not a rug? Is it a tapestry that she's kind of hanging? That then Alistair rips down to cover the toilet in, but then he does say, I'll put your rug back up.
That's after he's done a rain dance.
Yes. Yes, slightly inappropriate. It was 1982, so...
It was acceptable then. It was acceptable to call them Red Indians back then.
Yeah.
You know, it's no longer acceptable to call them Red Indians.
No, it's
Native
definitely
American.
not. No. But yeah, Leslie, I do kind of feel a bit sorry for her. And especially because all the other factory girls don't speak to her. And they kind of, she's allowed to sit with them, but they don't chat to her. They don't speak to her. It's all very kind of mean girls and like schoolyard stuff, really. But I guess that's the way it was. But Malcolm does say to her, you know, they earn like a third of what the men do in the factory, but yet they kind of feel that they rule it. But then does Alistair not say later on that like something like 3/4 of the factory is female? But you don't see a lot of them, really.
Just the same ones over and over again.
Yeah, which is very strange. But yeah, they're very bitchy to poor Leslie. But when she doesn't seem to... She seems like a really lovely girl. I don't know what the fuck she's doing with Alistair. And obviously, you know, Malcolm's taken with her. Dennis is trying it on with her as well. And she's far too good for him. So I hope she kicks him into touch.
Yeah, well, even Jake Darcy's character, was it Eddie? He sort of chases her at one point, doesn't he?
He does indeed, yeah.
Did you notice, I don't know if this would be what you would describe modern parlance as an Easter egg, but obviously Elaine Collins is famously married to Peter Capaldi, but she's married to Peter Capaldi when we did Soft Top Hard Shoulder, we spoke about it. So the boyfriend Jimmy is wearing a jacket that says Dream Boys on the back, which was the band that Capaldi and Craig Ferguson were in before they went into obviously acting and comedy, respectively. They were in a band called the Dream Boys. And I thought, I wonder if that's like, you know, like that is like actual costume, like somebody who was a fan of the band, maybe one of the production assistants, or maybe the actor who plays Jim himself was, I don't know, I did look him up. I couldn't find out. His name's John Butterfly. I couldn't find out. There's not a great deal about him on IMDb, but I wondered if maybe he had been a member of the Dream Boys at one point, or involved with the group in some capacity. But yeah, you see it when they have the row after Isabel phones her sister, you know, in her first attempt at looking for an ally and support, and phones her fucking absolute arsehole of a sister who obviously offers no sympathy whatsoever, and they have that row, and he goes storming off down the street on the back of his jacket. It's like it's sort of chalked on. It says Dream Boys.
Oh, lovely. That's a lovely little Easter egg, as you say.
Yeah, if it is even an Easter egg, I don't know.
Don't know. Oh, very good.
So you were going to mention the scene when there was something about that scene when he phones up, right?
Yeah.
Ask when he's pissed.
So I did love the fact that this is heavily soundtracked by Rod Stewart in terms of this. It's about 3 or 4 Rod Stewart songs that come up. And I was here for it because especially I'm reading Men in Love at the moment. So obviously Begbie's love for old Rod is fantastic. So when Jimmy calls up to speak to Isabel, he's speaking to Ellen, who is about to be the grandmother of his child. Is that the best time to have the conversation? When you're in the pub and it's soundtracked by Hot Legs by Rod Stewart. He's telling her, he's having an argument with her, and in the background, Hot Legs. Like, is this appropriate? However, the best use of the Rod Stewart for me is the end. When you have, I don't want to talk about it, and you've got Malcolm just sitting there wistfully looking at the river. I'm not
nobody
sure
to talk
it looks like he's going to top himself because he's just so upset. But a wonderful use of rods. But yeah, I just had to, the hot legs playing as he's talking to Ellen on the phone was just wonderful.
Yeah. What's the other one? Like, the first cut is the deepest is on there as well, isn't it?
Yes.
Is that the 3? Is there another one?
I think that's the 3. Yeah. I think, and then obviously you got the Boomtown Rats in there as well. Yeah. But yeah, I was just like, oh, it's another Rod Stewart song. Oh, it's Rod Stewart again. Oh, brilliant. But yeah, I just thought Hot Legs was just very inappropriate there.
I liked Elaine Collins' character, Isabel.
Yeah.
Well, I liked her performance because the only other sort of, I'm sure I've probably seen her in dribs and drabs over the years, but obviously in kind of Culture Swally terms, I think Soft Top Hard Shoulder is the only thing we've had her on where it's a significant part apart from this. And you know, like it shows her range really, because in this I think she's obviously older than the character she's playing. I would say. So I think Isabel's supposed to be sort of 16, 17, something like that. And I would probably have said Elaine Collins was in her early 20s or so when she filmed it. But yeah, I mean, she, you know, if you compare her to the character she plays in Soft Top Hard Shoulder, who's a much softer character, I suppose. And like Isabel in this, like, she's so emotional and kind of combative all the time in all the scenes we see her in. So the 2 scenes that I've already kind of spoken about a bit. The one when she's on the phone to her sister, kind of look, you know, and she's asking after her wee nephew and everything before she breaks the news.
Yeah.
Obviously hoping to find an ally in Eileen. And then she gets really upset when we don't hear what her sister says to her, but obviously we understand that she is not being sympathetic. And then that other scene that I spoke about earlier when she goes to Malcolm looking for an ally, and you know, like it's really quite a sort of what's I'm looking for? It's an understated performance, really. Like, I mean, it's all well acted, this, and you know, these are all, the good thing about the plays for today is that they're always cast by, I just get the impression actors who are at the time were just working all the time. You know what I mean? Probably record this one day, maybe get a walk-on part on a long-running TV show one day, about a theatre another day, whatever. Do you know what I mean? So all because they had to pay the bills, right? Yeah. So they tend to be really, really well performed. And she's great in this, because she could have just played the sort of petulant teenager for the whole time, you know, screaming at everybody and arguing and stuff. But the fact that she softens, because she's really emotional in the scene when she's on the phone with her sister, and then she kind of regresses a bit when she approaches Malcolm. Like it's like she's a wee girl again when she kind of goes to him looking for support. It's a really, really great performance from her, I think.
You're right, because the first time that we see her is when she's watching TV up loud, and you just think she is just going to be this kind of petulant teenager, not going to have many lines, just kind of there for dressing almost. So I was quite surprised when, you know, a few minutes later we see her with Jimmy, and it's evident they've just, well, they haven't had sex, but he kind of complains that she's not up for it. And you kind of, it's like, oh, okay, we're getting to see this. And then, of course, when we find out, that she's pregnant, you know, that's a great scene as well. And you're right, the character does develop over the course of the play. And I felt really sorry for her in the end, when she's the end scene where she's kind of being shipped off to Manchester to hide until the baby's born. It's terrible.
Well, she sort of lost control at that point. You know what I mean? Like you kind of get the feeling that she's trying to stay in control of the situation, you know, and kind of go her own way and do her own thing. And, you know, it's all her sister and her mother have just sort of taken all that away from her, you know, and she's kind of resigned to the fact that she's not going to get what she wants at the very end. She's just kind of walking, sort of beaten through the train station, you know?
Yeah, terrible. Absolutely terrible. Did you like Tony Roper's moustache?
But I thought it quite suited him, to be quite honest. For like,
it did.
You know,
yeah, it did.
Yeah. I'm surprised Tony Roper didn't play a more kind of prominent character in it, to be quite honest. You know? But I guess this was before he wrote The Steamy and before naked video and all that kind of stuff, I guess. So
I think as well as the way that we're talking about the automation of the factory and looking towards the future of that, I thought Alistair did have a point in turn. I was quite surprised being 1982. It's when they're in the pub and he's speaking to Dennis and they're speaking about page 3, and that's why Dennis says all that fuss over a bit of tit. Yeah. And Alistair then gets talking about, implants and bum lifts and lip fillers and how it's all artificial. And I was quite surprised, 1982, like, Christ, what would you think nowadays in terms of everything that's there? But that really kind of hit home. I was like, wow. This piece is 43 years old and they're talking about it then. And it wasn't as if it was just one thing. It was the bum, Dennis is like, don't forget the bum implants. And you're like, wow, I didn't realize that was a thing back then. It all seems like quite a recent kind of thing, to be fair. But I didn't realize that was prevalent back then. And
he's against it, right? He likes natural women.
Yes.
Maybe why he's attracted to Leslie.
You are enslaved, pal, and that's where it starts. Dehumanising.
That's rubbish. A bit of harmless tit. You don't believe that, do you, Leslie?
Yes, I do.
Oh, dear God, they're all bloody lesbians,
You're
these people.
wrong,
That's the only
Dennis.
reason.
You're so wrong. Listen, Dennis, I'm telling you, women is commodities. It's one of the props of the system. Saleable items. You can buy every part over the counter. Sexy mouth, whatever hair colour, silicone implants.
Bum lift. Don't forget the bum lift.
Oh, Christ, it could be cars, optional extras.
Oh, well, if you don't know the difference.
No, it's totally artificial. You can't have an honest relationship, and that is it.
It was, it was good to see some younger kind of, Jonathan Watson, and John Mickey as well. It was nice to see him in there. Like, not a big role as Trotsky, but he's there in a couple of scenes.
I've met John Mickey.
Ah, have you?
Don't think he likes being approached.
Oh, okay.
He was at the same event that I met David Heyman at. And he was at the bar with his wife, I guess, and I attempted to engage him in conversation, and he, I had too much to drink, and he did not want to speak to me. I mean, he did a little bit, but I wasn't so drunk that I couldn't tell when my presence was not welcome beside him at the bar. So I moved away. But yeah, because when I met him, I think he was doing Coronation Street post-Haggard.
Okay.
Yeah, so he was playing Michelle Collins that played Cindy in EastEnders. He was playing her her husband when they were running the Rovers.
Okay.
In Coronation Street. Yeah, you were in Dubai by then. You probably weren't watching Coronation Street.
No, definitely.
I don't know why I was watching it, to be honest, but I was. I knew he was in it anyway. He was doing an English accent, which was kind of weird.
Oh, that's very strange.
Yeah.
Well, not approachable then. There you go. That's a Culture Swally exclusive. We can put that out there.
Don't annoy John Mickey.
Just to talk about Malcolm and Leslie's relationship that they have. So obviously you can tell Malcolm is attracted to Leslie because he's staring at her all the time. Now, it comes to when they go to the Chilean thing, and he invites Alistair, but he kind of makes a point of, you could bring Leslie.
Yeah.
And obviously then Alistair doesn't go, so Leslie goes because she kind of feels she has to, because otherwise it's a shame for Malcolm.
And also Alistair sort of tells her to go, right? Because Malcolm's expecting them and blah, blah, blah.
Yeah. And it's Leslie that is, he says, we're early. Should we get a coffee? And she says, let's get a drink. And okay.
Let's get a pint.
let's go and get a pint. So they go to the pub. So she's obviously there. So they miss the lecture and end up just having a drink. But they leave quite early on because they're getting harassed by some wee Ned in the pub.
Yeah.
Is that your bird? Then he drops her off at home and gets a kiss on the cheek. Now, you just know he's spending that whole car ride home thinking about that and about how when he gets in, he's going to rip the heat off it. Thinking about that kiss.
Right next to Mary Riggans.
And then he gets in and is confronted by the 3 women in his family, hysterical about the fact that his teenage daughter's pregnant. He's got to be like, for fuck's sake. I was just wanting to come home. I've just a lovely kiss on the cheek from lovely auburn-haired Leslie. I was wanting to have a bit of quiet alone time, and now I've got this. So, but fair play. You think it's the next day. He's had enough. So he leaves the factory with Leslie and they go off and sit on the rocks and have have a little kiss by the burn. Do you think they pumped?
I don't know, because the scene when his car's broken down is a bit weird, right?
Yeah.
She's pushing the car.
Yeah.
He's trying to get it to start. And then he looks a bit sad. And I thought, oh, he must be sad because he can't get his car to start. But then we sort of realise later that he's sad because there's been some off-camera conversation when he's decided that it's not a good idea after, for whatever reason. And she looks a bit, because she looks a bit sad as well. And I'm like, is she sad because he's sad because his car won't start, or what? What's going on?
That is left kind of undiscovered, because you see them there and obviously he says, what do you think about me? And before she can even really respond, he goes, I love you.
Yeah.
And then he's kind of talking out of it, how it can't work and stuff. And then they kiss, and then they passionately kiss, and then it cuts. And you're right, the next time we see them, she's pushing the car. So I don't know what's happened. Was he not able to perform? Did they decide it wasn't a bad idea? Was he really bad? And, did he prematurely in his trousers? And that's...
It's been a long time since he got his wee Bobby man out, maybe. I don't know.
Yeah.
To do anything like that.
But it is very strange we don't know. All we know is that it doesn't look like anything's going to progress in the future, because but he's obviously still obsessed with her, because he's thinking about her when he's sitting in Isabel's room in his pajama top, which I think is it buttoned up incorrectly to look like how he's so upset he can't even be fucked buttoning his pajamas correctly. And then we see this slow motion shot of Leslie sitting by the fucking loch, and the hair blowing in the wind, and you're like, really? And then he sat there himself looking suicidal whilst Rod Stewart blares out. It's a strange ending, and I kind of want to know, was this him just having a last bit of romance of freedom, like a late midlife crisis? He knows it can't work out. Does he go back? Does Mary Riggans take him back after all this? Does he go back to her? Is that what he wants? I don't know. Is he going to be fired from the factory? Because McLaughlin does say it's about time his tail was docked. Yeah. Is he in serious trouble? Is he completely fucked?
Has he got form for doing that kind of thing, like you say, back in the past? I know, it's kind of weird, right? It's and you wonder, because he's like, well, I'll probably get suspended, no biggie, right?
He's just trying to act cool,
you think? Yeah. Maybe that's why he's looking sad. Maybe he's realised that it's not going to work and he's fucked his job up, like on his own, just for the sake of a bit of moment of madness with young Leslie, maybe.
So what, do you think they have had a romantic time and then immediately he's had remorse afterwards, and, once the realisation set in, he's like, oh, fuck, I've fucked it all up. Maybe
he's been sitting there and he's come to the realisation that he's fucked it up by making Leslie push the car when it won't start. He's thought to himself, he's sitting there going, I've completely fucked it. I making her do that. I should have pushed the car and she could have tried, what am I doing?
Yeah, very strange choice. Very strange choice. But yeah, I'd love to know what happens.
I don't know. It's all a bit weird, right? The ending doesn't... You kind of need to know a little bit more about... I think I could have done with like an extra 5 minutes just with Leslie and Malcolm so we could understand exactly what's gone wrong there,
Just a quick scene for them to say, you know what, this could never work. I love you too, but we're just too different and there's too much between us and this can't work. That's all it takes. It was also nice to see, simpler times that Mary Riggans has found out her teenage daughter's pregnant. She's found out her husband is having an affair with a younger woman, but she can still chuckle to Carry On Cowboy. Because she has a wee little laugh to herself when she's doing the ironing at Carry On Cowboy. It was, it's nice.
I wasn't sure if it was Carry On Cowboy or Some Mothers Do Have Him. I think you're right. I think it was Charles It was Charles Hawtrey, wasn't it, in the headdress? Yeah, you're right. Yeah, he wasn't in Some Mothers.
Second reference to Native Americans in the show.
Sorry, not Some Mothers. It's not Some Mothers Can Have Him. 8.5 Hot Mum is what I meant.
Yes,
is what I was getting it mixed up with.
Yeah,
I mean, Carry On Cowboy's a laugh. It's just what you need. Just what you need when your life's falling to pieces. bit of innuendo.
Just stick on a Carry-On film and everything will be fine. Sid James will cure everything, for that matter.
The other thing is, so Malcolm comes in. Again, this struck me as odd, right? Malcolm comes in one night and he's like, where's Isabel? And she says, oh, because she's, Mary Riggans is like, oh, do you know what? She shouted up to her, what about your supper? And she's like, I don't want any supper. So I thought, oh, it must be like, they must have supper like tea and biscuits. Like my grandparents used to have like tea and biscuits at like 9 o'clock or 10 o'clock at night, every night. You know what I mean? There's their supper. And he comes in and he's like, oh, wait, where is she? And she says, she's gone to her bed. He's like, what, is she sleeping? It's only 10:30.
Yeah.
And I'm like, that's late.
Yeah.
You know, did people just go to bed later in the 1980s? Like my mum always went, they usually would turn in after the 10 o'clock news usually. That'd be the kind of latest during the week, you know?
Yeah, I'm usually in bed by about 10:30, like I have to say. So I live it at a push.
Yeah.
And it's, yeah, I find that a bit strange. Do you want your supper? It's 10:30. And then right enough, he sticks on and it must be Sports Scene that's on. Because he's watching its football highlights. I did see, it must have been an Aberdeen game because I did hear De Groegvie's name mentioned. But yeah, I find that strange as well, that it's 10:30. Very odd.
Yeah.
But yeah, there's a few bits in this that are a bit head-scratching. And I think you're right when you said earlier it could have done with an extra 5 minutes. I just want a scene explaining what happened. Because it's not like it's meant to be left on a cliffhanger. You're meant to know that things are obviously over. Because Leslie's back in bed with Alistair. Malcolm's looking upset and even more depressed than he was before all of this.
Yeah.
You know, he's properly fucked it. But I just want to know why or what was the reasoning? Because there's so many reasons.
And who's in Manchester that's going to take in Isabel?
Yeah, exactly. Did she say, was that mentioned? It might be somebody, I think maybe it's not. Or am I thinking of someone else? I don't know. That's just another thing that's not really covered.
Because like in that scene when Mary Riggans and Jeanette Fogo and Elaine Collins are walking through the station, and obviously Elaine Collins is hanging back a wee bit, Mary Riggans is pushing the pram, wee Paul in it, and she looks like she's off to the fucking seaside. She's got like a big smile on her face. On her way to Manchester to hide her daughter's shame from her neighbours and friends in the chapel, you know, so she can have this baby, you know, pushing her grandson.
Yeah, very odd ending for something that's so carefully, and there's a lot of time earlier that is maybe wasted on, not wasted, but you know, there's a bit of fluff. Like, you know, did you need the scene with I can't remember the character's name, but the woman from The Office who comes in and the guys are kind of flirting with her. And then Al, is that to show that Carly is flirting with her because he's over Leslie? Or cut that and give me an explanation of what's happened. That's what, be fine.
Exactly. And, you know, like the thing is, like, with this, and it's quite similar to the other plays for today's that we've done, in that very, very talky. Like, this is this is multiple scenes of conversations between the characters. You know, they don't really make dramas like this anymore. No. They even the soaps, I mean, probably the closest thing in terms of drama with a lot of talking is probably soap operas. Now, you know what I mean? But even then, they'll have like some sort of incident in every episode, sometimes like a big incident if it's like a special episode, or a more minor one, or a bit of action or something like that. They're not as conversation heavy as probably soap operas used to be back then. But you know, again, this is something that really takes the attention span of the audience, you know, either respectfully or for granted. You know, like people, and I suppose people did. You know, I think we've mentioned this before. Like, you know, there's a real theatre element to all these plays for today, and you know, like a play will have a lot of conversation, right? Especially the sort of classic plays like The Mousetrap or Oscar Wilde stuff or whatever. You know, they're all very conversational, and like all these plays for today's that we've done, even like Elephant's Graveyard. I mean, it's basically the conversations of two characters for 50 minutes or however long, and just a boys' game. just a lot of conversation, although it does have a bit more action in it.
And some good tunes.
And some good tunes. And same with Just Another Saturday as well. You know, there's action in that, obviously, like one scene in particular, when they go up Fenian Alley, as they call it. But alongside that, there's a lot of conversations about society and what it means to be in the Orange Lodge and what it means to be a Catholic and what it means to be a young man in Glasgow or an old man in Glasgow and all that sort of stuff. It's don't make them like that anymore, to use a well-worn expression.
No, they don't. You're right. And yeah, it would be nice to, I guess, because it's so tight, because it's only an hour and 15 minutes or so.
Yeah.
But that's why they maybe leave out some important things.
Yeah.
Never mind.
Anyway, I think it's time to put the silly season through our Swally Awards.
Let's do it, Greg.
Okay, so the first award is our Bobby the Barman Award for the best pub. So we've got the choice of two. We've got, I want to know what pub in 1980s Glasgow was doing table service. For like when Pierce Brosnan and Alistair and Leslie are at the pub there. So there's that one, and then there's obviously the absolutely rammed battle cruiser that Malcolm takes Leslie to for their drink when they're supposed to be going to see the talk.
I have written down both options, and I have literally put, I'd pick the pub with Dennis. You get table service, there's no wee Neds, and it's a lot quieter.
Yeah, and you can have a right good gab.
Yeah, get the jukebox to yourself, you'd be able to put on some Rod Stewart, and yeah, be able to just chill and, you're right, have a good chat. And the toilet's pretty close as well, because Alistair pops in and out.
Did you notice the like how they check the patrons of the pub are old enough to drink? Usually, you pour the drink, you put it in their hand, then you say, "Are you old enough for that?" and then you accept what. You want to see a birth certificate or something? Or was it to say back to him? Something like that? I can't remember.
Yeah, it's something like that, yeah.
Yeah. And then just wanders off.
Yeah.
I'm with you. I think that I'm not sure I'll have a pint in there. And then an embarrassment of riches here for the James Cosmo Award for being in everything Scottish.
Yeah.
I mean, for me, it has to be Jake Darcy, just sheer number of things that he turns up in, even in big parts, small parts.
Yeah, I mean, it's probably Darcy, possibly Watson. I mean, Derek Anders has been in a lot of Scottish stuff, like over the years, like Taggart, Dr. Findlay, Ramsay Nesbitt, Sutherland's Law. He was in 107 episodes of Take the High Road. He's one of those that he's instantly recognisable, but sometimes you can't think where you know him from.
You can't place him, yeah. He's got a well-kent face, isn't he?
So I think it maybe is Jake Darcy, because you know immediately it's Jake Darcy, or we do. I wonder if to a lot of people he is, it's that guy, or he's probably mostly like, it's Pete the Jakey, as most people probably know him. But
yeah, maybe. I mean, I think certainly in Scotland, and certainly with people of a certain age, he's always going to be Jake Darcy. You know, I mean, I think of all the things we've covered, the thing that he probably has the biggest part in after this would probably be Gregory Skirrell, I think.
Yeah,
everything else is sort of like appearances, you know, like he turned up at the fag end of what we did in our holiday in the last episode, you know, for a very quick walk-on part as I'm member of the band, right, or something like that. It was quite nice to see him, you know, and it's not a massive role, but it's certainly a meaty role. He's got some good scenes, and he gets and a lot of dialogue, and it was good to see him in this doing all that.
No, he definitely does, and even his character is referenced quite a few times. Like Malcolm mentions Eddie, and Alistair has a particular thing that he says about Eddie, which we'll come to very shortly in one of the awards.
Okay, the next award would usually be your Jake McQuillan, your Teazout Awards, but there is, apart from a couple of dodgy tackles in the factory football kickabout, there's not really any violence in this, is there?
Well, I beg to differ. I mean, Ellen slaps Isabel across the face as she screams, "Right, you!
Right, you!"
Yeah, fair enough. I hadn't really considered that. I don't know, like, I always think of like explosive violence that's quite funny when I think of Teaser.
Yeah,
I don't
it's
think
not
of like
funny.
My mum, like emotional ladies slapping each other. So the next award then is our Francis Begbie Award for explicit language. Now, because it's a play for today, the language is reasonably tame, but there is a scene where it sounds as though Dennis and Alistair keep telling each other to fuck off.
Yeah, it does sound like that, doesn't it? And I think they are. Like, it
I think they are,
is,
yeah.
yeah. I did have that. The one I laughed at the most, because it's so ridiculous, is it's off camera. Isabel staring in the mirror, and you just hear Eileen and the cat off camera going, "Stupid bitch." It's the way the line's delivered. It's so ridiculous that I burst out laughing. So, but yeah, other than that, I had them telling each other to fuck off, yeah.
Just kind of related to that. So that's Eileen, played by Janet Fogle. There's enough of a resemblance between her and Elaine Collins to buy them as sisters, I think.
Yeah, there is.
Not, but there's just not too much, but just a bit enough. They look a little similar, kind of facially. That they do look like sisters. So the next award's an easy one: the Hugh McGregor Award for gratuitous nudity. We weren't expecting to see Frances Lowe's breasts, but we get to see them.
Yeah, we do. As Alistair's drawing them. Yeah, we certainly do. Yeah,
and then we see Alistair's painting of them.
Yes,
where he's despite what he said earlier about enhancements, he's been quite charitable in his rendering.
He has, yeah. Unfortunately, not on the toilet. Well, unfortunately for Alistair, not for us. But yes, he has been very charitable. Yes, he has.
Well, he does sort of realise that that was a bit of a silly suggestion to make. Just in his last sort of scene. Okay, the next award then, archetypal Scottish moment.
What did you go for this?
Well, I had two. I don't know why. Maybe it's because sort of growing up in Scotland and things, but and being like sort of grandparents and my father and all that were kind of labourers and tradesmen and working class and stuff. But I always think there's something like really Scottish to me about a trade union and that sort of organisation in the factory. But I think the thing that's probably the most Scottish is just everybody having nicknames in the factory. All the young guys getting nicknames in the factory, like Trotsky and Dr. Teeth. Dr. Teeth just fucking really cracked me up. Curly.
Yeah, Dr. Teeth was brilliant. I had, teenage pregnancy, but I thought it was kind of a joke. I did like when Jimmy says, "I'll marry you," and Isabel says, "What with your brew money?" And brew money is just very Scottish. Yeah. But I went for when Alistair and Leslie are in bed and they're speaking, and Alistair says that Eddie had a rolling mince for his piece.
Yeah, I've read that. Yeah.
It's just like a hamburger.
He says we invented them and the Americans stole it.
It's very a rolling mince. It's just wonderful.
I would not turn my nose up at a rolling mince. To be quite honest with you, I'd be quite happy with a rolling mince.
Yeah, it's lovely.
Yeah,
very nice.
And then the last award is our Sean Connery Award for who wins the silly season. And I did agonise a bit over who I felt comes out of this the best. What did you think?
I mean, I had put Derek Anders, but having a conversation with you, I think maybe Elaine Collins might be in with a shout.
Yeah, I mean, I think Derek Anders, because I think it's a good performance from him. You know what I mean? He's kind of midlife crisis, at a bit of a crossroads in his life, disappointed with the choices that he's either made or that he's had to make or whatever. He doesn't go over the top. But then you could say maybe sometimes he doesn't go far enough. But Elaine Collins, I think she's great in it. I think she is really, really good, and I think she definitely deserves a mention there.
Wonderful. Yeah, no, I agree with you on Anders. I think sometimes it's understated, but there's a couple of times where he's with Mary Riggans and you can tell he's kind of looking off somewhere thinking about something. And then he kind of snaps out of it and, what were you saying? And it's very subtly done, but it's very well done. When you say he doesn't go far enough at times, do you mean with Leslie at the loch or...
I just, I think something, maybe it's by design. Maybe we're supposed to feel Mary Riggins' frustration, because he never really fully articulates, to the audience exactly what his problem is, really. We know that he's got a bit of an infatuation with Leslie. We know that he's interested in having sort of intelligent chats with the students. He's not satisfied with his home life or whatever, but, I think maybe we just needed, again, a bit more from him, where he has a moment where there's a character that he can unburden himself to, and I thought that might be Leslie, and he does a little bit, but he's a bit guarded even with her. He doesn't go into a great amount of detail into everything that's going on at home when they have that time together by the loch.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? But he's, I think it's a great performance from him. And I think he definitely deserves the Big Tam Award. But Elaine Collins definitely needs a mention. I think if she was in maybe another couple of scenes, I'd have been giving it to her.
Yeah, would you now? Well, wonderful. Yeah, I think we could agree with that then. Okay, well, that was The Silly Season, which if you'd like to watch it, you could have watched it before we've talked about it. It is available on YouTube if you'd like to watch The Silly Season. So that was my choice, Greg. Why do you tell us what we're going to be talking about on the next episode of the Culture Swally?
Well, because we've come on to do a play for today, and we've not done one for a while, and I mentioned at the beginning, in the midst of my research, I found this great website called Letterboxd, which has a lot of really quite good information about all the plays for today. And I came across one that we have mentioned in the podcast before, but I'll be quite honest, and I completely forgotten about it. So it is another play for today. It's from 1972, and it's directed by Four Weddings and a Funeral and Donnie Brasco director Mike Newell, believe it or not, in one of his early gigs. It has David Heyman in his first ever TV role. It has Jerry Slevin, who was on today's episode as the foreman in the factory. Mary Riggans is back, Eileen McCallum, and a personal favourite of both of ours, Brian Pettifer. And it's Just Your Luck, Peter McDougall's first screened submission to the BBC. So when Alison unexpectedly falls pregnant after a brief encounter with Alex, played by David Heyman, they decide to marry. The joining of two seemingly different families opens into a witty, audacious tale. So yeah, I'd be interested in your thoughts on this. I don't think you've seen it. I've seen it before, but not for a long, long time.
So September on the Swally, Play for Today month and Pregnancy month. That's what we're going to be doing.
Play for Today month, exactly.
I'm looking forward to that. I've never seen it, but I'm aware of it, obviously.
Yeah.
But no, I've never seen it, so I'm looking forward to watching it.
So the big kind of plot point in it is that Alison is Protestant and Alex is Catholic, and the family's having to put aside their deep-rooted cultural differences to come together. So yeah, expect a bit of uncomfortable sectarian chat.
Yeah, look forward to getting into that on the next episode. Great. Yeah. Let's see who we can offend on the next episode of the Swally. Right. Okay, all right. Well, thank you very much, everyone. Next episode, Just Your Luck. All right, well, thank you very much for listening, everyone. Hope you enjoyed the show. Please give us a little rating, review, subscribe, wherever you get your podcasts. It does help the podcast grow. And if you want to get in touch with us, you can. You can email us, cultureswally@gmail.com, with anything you've seen you'd like us to cover, or any news stories, or if you just want to say hello. You can follow us on Insta at cultureswallypod, and we have a wonderful website as well, don't we, Greg?
Yep, all newly updated as well, the website, so you can find us at cultureswally.com. Links to all their socials, blog posts, and some articles about Scottish movies and television. So give us a bit of traffic over there.
Excellent. Well, you have a lovely time in Hong Kong, Greg. I know you're going for work, but I'm sure you'll get to go out and about a little bit as well and enjoy the cable car.
There's a few excursions built into the agenda. So yeah, get to do my tourist bit.
Fantastic. Well. And we'll get to hear all about it in between discussing pregnancy, Catholics and Protestants on the next episode.
Absolutely.
Wonderful.
Until next... yeah, so I jumped the gun there a bit. Until next time.
Until next time.
Leslie, what do you think of me? Leslie? That's ridiculous, isn't it? Stuck between floors and no electrician. God, I wish I was Eddie.
Don't.
Leslie, what is it? Tell me. Is it pity?
No.
Because I don't know what I'm doing. You must see it, surely. You must surely know, Leslie. I love you.